Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Darkin, it seems like the floodgates are 100% open for PlayStation 1 Static Recompilation Project. That is because in like the last 2 weeks, we are sitting on 5 new games that are going to be able to play on your PC without any sort of emulation whatsoever, that are being 100% statically recompiled with no emulation underneath, nothing like DuckStation being involved whatsoever. But if it used Ape Station, I'd be totally fine with that. And all jokes aside, in a previous video, before even I knew about this, I said, if you could snap your fingers and make one PlayStation 1 game show up as a static recomp, what would it be? And I picked Ape Escape. And from the footage you're seeing here, that's exactly what I am playing, M-Stand static recomp of Ape Escape for PlayStation 1. Now just be aware, this is still very early in development. This is more of a preview of something that's going to be worked on, but it is something you can play today. And I'm not going to run this video until one last control issue is patched up by M-Stand. I've actually been helping them test it on my system with different controllers, because I have an issue where sometimes the camera input on the D-pad will actually pop over to the analog controller and it'll move the camera when you actually don't want to. That is because this was the first game that required the DualShock controller on PlayStation 1. You could not play it with the controller that shipped with the original PS1, so it does take a little bit more to get everything going, and because it is still early in development, honestly, the stability is there, it just needs a couple actual improvements to the controls. But by the time you watch this one, that will be taken care of because I am holding the video until that moment in time. And I absolutely love the Ape Escape franchise. It is one of Sony's most charming franchises as far as anything they've ever done outside of something like Astrobot, and it's something that I never expect Sony to go back to, because right now it seems like Sony's kind of lost their way and doesn't really know what to do with any of the franchises they actually have. Now going into the gameplay here, I will say, as far as the graphics are concerned, as far as the audio is concerned, this feels like 90 to 95% buttoned up. It is just the issue with the camera sometimes swinging on the analog control that can be a little bit of a problem, so I will use the L1 button here to basically just recenter to make it a little bit easier on myself. And like I said, by the time you play this one, that will be solved, because I've been sending in some actual reports to M-Stand over on Discord, just saying what is going on my system, giving specs, and then trying out different controllers. But something like Ape Escape is just absolutely amazing, and even no DuckStation emulation is also awesome for it. Stuff like static recomps can and will open up more ability for people to mod these games. Now, is every single static recomp going to see mods? I just don't know. It depends on the overall community around the game and how much is out there as far as projects are concerned, because some games have absolutely massive fan communities, some games have like 3 or 4 people that actually care, and honestly I don't see as many comments for Ape Escape on the channel as I would imagine there would be out there. I still remember getting this game back in the day, didn't know what it was, just saw it on a store shelf at eBay Games and it was on sale, so I figured, hey, it kind of looks charming, I should pick it up and give it a shot. And from there I have played every single mainline Ape Escape ever made, and I absolutely love the franchise. And again, there's just so many new PlayStation 1 recomps that we're talking about right now. We have Mega Man X4, X5, and X6. We have Symphony of the Night statically recompiled as well, and there are definitely more on the way, some of which have been previewed out there. Stuff like a Spyro the Dragon recomp, and stuff that I've heard from developers that isn't public yet that you'll probably be hopefully playing maybe around the time that the turkey is on the actual Thanksgiving table. But nothing is guaranteed, so don't ask me down below. Anytime anyone tells me anything in advance, I never share it with anyone, and that's why they tell me stuff in the first place. But as far as this recomp is concerned, you can save your game, you can go back to it anytime you want, that works perfectly fine. If you did notice in the beginning, the intro was in 16:9 widescreen, and that is because there is an experimental widescreen mode, but it messed up a little bit of the text in the actual menu, so I decided to capture it in 4:3, but you can turn it on right there. And I really do appreciate that M-Stand's launcher has all of the verifications to make sure that the files you're using from your legally owned Ape Escape disk are correct. You can set your controller, rebind it, even import saves from other versions of Ape Escape out there, stuff like DuckStation saves that you can find online, so you can kind of hop around in the game. And just so you are aware, because I'd like everyone to know, M-Stand does use Claude in conjunction with his own brain to be able to make these recomps, so for people that care about that, you now know, and you know my thing is, I show you what exists out there and you decide how you feel about it. Let's do the first of 2 soundtrack samples because the music in this game is outstanding, and it sounds really good here, and I'll be right back with more monkey fun. Can be a little hard to tell there with the soundtrack actually having the rain sound effect over top the game, but it sounds very accurate to my ears. The only issue I had in the static recomp is I did turn the volume down ever so slightly, because at least on my headphones and system, the default was almost getting close to clipping, but that is a thing. Everyone's system is different, and I use a DAC in conjunction with my studio headphones, so my overall default volume levels may have been a little high for what the game actually wanted to use. And in the previous version, I tested one of the earliest alphas. You couldn't actually hit L3, so this is as far as you could get without a save file, because you couldn't actually go into the water and swim. And again, that is not a knock against the project. I actually like testing the very broken versions of things, the things that are basically the initial build, just to kind of play around with them, and when I can, provide those bug reports. So if you do want to play with this, once the controls are buttoned up and you're watching the video, there is that issue ticket on GitHub, and that's where you should put. And if you get any video or photographic evidence, definitely include those error reports, because MStan and pretty much every other developer out there utilizes those to understand where there's issues in a game and where they need to clean things up, because trust me, if you're just doing this all alone, trying to find every single bug can be almost impossible, but suddenly when hundreds upon hundreds of people are playing it, the bugs are found very quickly. And if there was some sort of mod to make swimming ever so slightly easier in the game, I would love that, because it is a thing that always made me struggle just a little bit. But this is one of those titles I absolutely wanted to see a static recomp for, so I will ask the question again. If you could snap your fingers and make one PlayStation 1 game show up as a perfect static recomp, which one would it be? I'm going to go back to my old default, Mizurna Falls, and honestly, if I had a second one out there, it might be Medieval, because even though that game got a remake, I didn't love the remake. I like the PlayStation 1 aesthetic better, and I think it actually fits the game better, so I'd love to see a static recomp of that one. And either I've already shown you or be watching soon a video on Recomp 1 as well, the overall software environment that is running the Symphony of the Night static recomp, which isn't using Claude. So basically, there's two different independent projects out there that are basically recompiling the entirety of what a PlayStation 1 is, from the actual MIPS code from the CPU to all of the sound, audio, hardware like that, GPU, and even the controller inputs. And that definitely is going to benefit a lot of people in the future, because I really do think you're going to see PlayStation 1 static recomps speed up and basically get to par with N64 maybe in the next 6 months to a year, because this is the new frontier of game preservation, and of course it still sits alongside software emulation. And I'm readily going to admit that sometimes when a static recomp is early, emulation actually still is the preferred way to play, but when a static recomp is complete and there's no bugs left, definitely would be the way I would pick to play the game. Let's do one more soundtrack sample, this time without any rain in the scene, so you can hear the audio from the intro without any of the sound effects over top, because honestly, not only does it sound really good here coming out of the static recomp, but Ape Escape has 10 out of 10 music. So go ahead and listen, I'll be right back with a bit more. So if there's anything wrong in the audio intro there, I have absolutely no idea, because my ears just tell me it sounds like the Ape Escape intro. But again, I love to say on videos, I am very bad with audio. I don't deal with it in my actual work whatsoever. Very visual person, and the audio department's a completely different department that I depend on to know what the hell they're doing, because I have no idea whatsoever. It is definitely a weak spot that maybe I could try to correct, but honestly, that's an entire different field of study, so I just let the people that are experts handle that one for me. So if you hear anything you don't like, definitely leave me a comment down below. And if you want to play around with this one, the GitHub link is in the description below. But MStan basically iterates on these and improves them over time, so don't expect perfection, you can't be disappointed. And that's basically every single static recomp that's come out. There's always going to be bugs in the initial version, and even stuff like Dusklight, the Twilight Princess PC port, they're still getting bug fixes on there, even though it's been out for like 3-4 months now, and it's at version 1.4.1. But I guess you're not going to find bugs, you're going to find monkeys, that's the point of the game. But short of that, I'll see you guys next time and hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.